Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light Lime. The superior drinkability of Bud Light with a splash of 100% natural lime flavor. By Auto Tire. For the lowest prices in town, 26 locations to serve you. You ought to go to Auto Tire, the Tire Pros. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Geico Direct, a 15-minute phone call could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Southwest Airlines. With Southwest Airlines, you're now free to be more productive. Visit southwest.com today. Just a gorgeous afternoon. Al Hrabosky, Dan McLaughlin. Al fresh off his roundtable from the pregame show, and he's ready to go for the real deal. The first pitch.
Looking forward to this, and we're going to have a lot of fun today. A beautiful afternoon. Boy, you can see where this place will be packed as they want to see this surprising Rays ball club.
Iwamura is the leadoff man for Tampa Bay. Their Southwest Airlines starting lineup. Then Crawford and Upton, who is so smooth out center. Pena, Longoria, Navarro, Gross, Bartlett, and the pitcher from Minnesota is Garza. Came over an off-season deal, and this is our Rico starter, Adam Wainwright. 8 starts and a record of 3-2.
Well, still a very good ERA, but I think that lingering loss, he wants to forget about that one, and the only one way to do it, and that's pitch good baseball.
Let's take a look at the Cardinals defense. Duncan in left, Schumacher in center, and Ryan Ludwig is in right. Loss, Ryan, Miles Pujols on the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Auto Tire around the horn. Iwamura, 5-time All-Star over in Japan. Hits from the left side, and the first pitch is a strike at the knees, and we're underway. Game 2 between Tampa Bay and St. Louis. As you mentioned, Al, in our open, you're going to look at the curveball and also the velocity on the fastball to see where Wainwright is.
Well, we used to see Wainwright with that devastating 12-6 curveball. It's been a little bit elusive, and his fastball rarely touching 90. His changeup has become an exceptional pitch for him, and he showed it right there.
73 degrees. Just gorgeous here in St. Louis. Standing room only. Almost sold out for tomorrow. Here's the 1-2. The curveball pulled towards first. Albert Pujols is there. Steps on the bag, and that's the first out.
That was a curveball there, recording the out. Sometimes you'll throw it at varying velocities. So, you know, sometimes you see the 12-6. Other times, you know, you have a good ahead one. There when you in our suntrip.com slow-mo cam, you saw how the rotation did appear to be 12-6.
Here is Crawford. Fastball and a strike. As you said last night, Carl Crawford in many ways the face of the Tampa Bay franchise.
Hey, he's been here a long time. He's the first young man of many to sign a lucrative long-term contract. But when he did it, you know, he put a little faith in this organization, saying, I believe it's turned the corner. All the top draft choices, now they're starting to, you know, show that immense talent and become winners.
0-2 pitch up and in. Out in center today, it is Skip Schumacher. And looks like he's got a little different look. Look at the stirrups. I like it.
Changes luck.
Change the luck. Tap foul. 1-2 the count. How about this weather?
Oh, it's about time, isn't it?
It was feeling like Seattle earlier this week. Rain and cold.
I wonder how many people were tempted to go out and play golf. I know a lot of these Angels have got tee times after this game for out at Stonewolf.
Angels? You mean Rays?
No, Rays. You're right. I keep on thinking of them because of Percival and Joe Madden in particular.
I could see where you're going with that. George Hendrick over there.
George Hendrick. George and Madden were coaching together with the Angels,
right,
on Socha's staff. That's where we first met Joe Madden.
1-2 is slapped down the left field line and foul. Kind of a baseball historian. He loves to talk about the history of the game, appreciates the history of the game, and certainly appreciates the history of baseball here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm really looking and hoping to have the opportunity to meet Stan Musial. They're both from Pennsylvania. But as I told you last night, reading a book on Branch Rickey. Just finished the Cardinal part of it, and now he's, Branch has moved on to the Dodgers.
We take it for granted. We see Red Shandies every day. Batting practice, you go up, you can talk to Red. He'll talk anything with you. Golf, baseball, his life in the game. And Mr. Madden said it was a thrill to meet Red Shandies. Line drive caught at short. That's Brendan Ryan.
Well, the name of the game is to control the pitch count and also the strike count. And you can see that Adam is doing so. Of the 12 pitches thrown, 10 of them in the strike zone.
Here is B.J. Upton.
About the 2 plays he made in the 9th inning.
And it, looked to be routine for him, but those were not easy plays. A ball that was hitting right center, another one in left center, and he just glides to the baseball. He is so smooth when he runs.
And what we mean by that is they were extra base hits just about with any other center fielder.
They love his talent. 2nd overall pick a couple years ago.
How about he and his brother?
Yeah. Pretty talented family. The 0-1 pitch. Little low. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 outs, nobody on. B.J. Upton. Just underway here in St. Louis. Interleague play of 2008. That's hit out of play and foul. A lot of white in the upper deck. It's not a sea of red, it's a sea of white.
Well, there's a lot of t-shirts. They're wearing 4-H t-shirts. I saw a lot of them when we were coming in. See a whole group up there in left field wearing yellow shirts, but those white ones are all 4-H club.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Spoiled by Upton. 16 pitches here in this first inning so far for Wainwright. Only 3 balls. 13 strikes. You'd take that, wouldn't you?
Sure. The Youngs and the Uptons. The only brothers to be drafted in the top 5 of each draft.
Liner into center and a base hit. Schumacher plays a lot deeper than Ankiel, certainly deeper than Edmonds. And it's a 2-out base hit.
See the breaking ball and really kind of almost a defensive swing, but lifts it out into center field, and with 2 outs and because of the running speed, Schumacher played it very conservative.
A man on for Carlos Pena. Broken bat single last night. He was 1 for 5 with an RBI. Hitting just .212, but he's got tremendous power. 46 home runs a year ago, and this season already with 8. A shift is on for Pena as Troy Gloss is at the shortstop position. Brendan Ryan is behind second, and Gloss was a shortstop in college.
A big shortstop in college, but see the only man on the left side of the infield. There's your shortstop out there behind second base, and the first a fastball that was thrown away. So either he must roll over on every outside pitch, and they're setting up outside, but they throw to first. This Rays team will steal a lot of bases. Upton has 7 steals, but they've had 39 on the year.
They've got speed in this lineup. One of the top base stealing teams in the league. There he goes. Thrown down to second. And on his way to third is Upton. Ryan couldn't pick it. It's a stolen base. And an error on Molina, his second error in this series.
And already 4 on the season. But Brendan Ryan is upset with himself. He got a tremendous jump off of Wainwright. And Brendan Ryan upset with himself for not at least knocking it down. Yeah, it's short hopping, but just forget about trying to get the out at second base. Keep the man at second. Do not complicate it by letting the ball get by you and go into center field.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Pena. 2 balls and a strike. Home plate umpire is Greg Gibson. Ryan Runge is over at first. Charlie Rutherford at second base. And Mike Estabrook is at third.
Now Gloss with the runner at third. He's got to move closer to the bag so he can keep him in check, not let him get a huge lead and steal home.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Swung through it, a foul tip. 2-2.
92. So that's you know, this may be a time where Adam says, okay, I'll rear back a little bit and give him my best stuff.
We saw on the stadium gun last night, first time in a long time we've seen somebody hit triple digits, and that was Chris Perez on the stadium gun last night. 2-2.
Also heard that Tony didn't believe it.
We had 98 on our gun.
Fact is, those hitters will let you know how good your fastball is.
That's what most players say too. They don't get in love, you know, with watching the guns at the various stadiums, and most players are realistic about it, and they just say, I watch the hitters. If they're getting good swings on me, then I know I'm not throwing that hard.
Was an impressive, you know, major league debut, and just kind of let him get his feet wet. And I had him on the Caravan, and you know, I like him a lot. He's a nice young man out of the University of Miami and lives in Bradenton, Florida.
2-2 pitch. Check swing did not go as they appeal. And the count runs full. Already 23 pitches here in this first inning. Cardinals desperately need a win. Pittsburgh took 2 of 3. Rays won last night. The Cardinals find themselves in 3rd place now in the Central Division, and 3 games back of Chicago. The 3-2. Ball 4. So base hit and a walk after Wainwright got the first 2. Been a tough month for St. Louis. April outstanding. In the month of May, totally different story. You can see what they've done with their batting average, 6th best. But the ERA over 5, 14th. And
So
that's in the National League, but the ERA is what stands out. Their starting pitching was just awesome in that first month.
yeah, and you saw the batting average 274. That's sufficient. They've gotten guys on base. Everything evolves around starting pitching.
2 outs, 1st and 3rd. There's a strike on the outside corner to Longoria. Did not break with the club out of spring training, but then he got off to a great start in the minor leagues. They know he's got tremendous talent. They brought him up, gave him a long-term contract, and here he is. The 0-1 pitch. Shallow center and a base hit, a 2-out RBI. Longoria makes it 1-0 Tampa Bay. So all this done with 2 outs here in the first against Wainwright.
Making contact and lifting the ball over the infield. Molina set up away. Pretty good pitch. I mean, look at that, but it is up a little bit. And we'll go back to the stolen base attempt and Ryan's inability to keep that on the infield. It scored an error by Molina, his 4th of the year, 2nd in this series. But if you vacate the bag, just put your body in front of it, keep that ball right there, we may not have a Rays 1-0 score. Probably would, but you never know.
With Upton running, probably, but still, you never know.
No, you know, Schumacher has thrown out 2 guys at the plate.
Yep.
And a guy could trip over that, you know, that little pebble.
That one pebble right down there,
or the little heavy chalk line. It's
been known to trip guys, you know. Throw behind the runner, and they got him. Yes, another pickoff from Molina. Terrible mistake by Longoria. Right on the bag. He slid right into the tag. Molina gets his man at first. 1-0 after a half inning. It's the 3rd time that Molina has picked off a base runner this season. That's now 22 career catcher pickoffs for one of the best, Molina.
Well, you can see that that was a set play, or at least that they knew, because Albert broke before the pitch. That was one of the prettiest throws you'll ever see. And Molina, the absolute best today at picking off that runner, and that combination of working with Albert at first base.
Our Rico starter is Matt Garza. He was with Minnesota last year, a record of 2-1, and this is his 7th start of the season.
Very talented young man that they gave up Delvin Young to acquire him. Also Bartlett, their shortstop.
Let's take a look at the Cardinals lineup, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. We highlight Troy Gloss, red hot in his last 10 games with a home run and 5 RBIs. Schumacher, Miles, and Pujols, Duncan, Gloss, Ludwig, Molina, Wainwright, and Brendan Ryan. Pitcher again, batting 8th in our Southwest Airlines starting lineup. Their starter last night was pretty tough. Shut down the Cardinals. And he didn't throw hard at all, but he was never over the middle of the plate.
I was talking with a lot of players. Sonnenstein, last night's starter, they said they just had trouble, centering the ball, but they were all very impressed with it. Now, Garza is a hard thrower, so in many ways he has better stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's a better pitcher.
Movement, location, right, Al?
Oh yeah. And last night's starter also had deception. Kept very few balls in the middle of the plate. He was up and down, changed speeds. They were kind of a little bit baffled by him. And the first time around, he shows you that deception.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to the Cardinal leadoff man, Skip Schumacher, taken low, 2 balls and a strike. Trying to change his luck. New look with the stirrups.
Watch with all the video. Look at how he does that glove. How he holds it and really fumbling with the fingers, trying to get the grip. That's one of the things with today with the video, that they will look there and study that and see, does he do something on the fastball? Is it a different grip on the breaking ball? Anything. That's where the value of video is today. They watch all that fiddling with the fingers.
2-2 hit out of play.
We talked about how sometimes the old gloves, a pitcher would have a finger on the outside. And he does too, right? You see the finger?
I think he's got it in. I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe it's something else.
He's got it covered up. But I know what you're saying, Al. And, remember a couple years ago against Arizona, a lot of people felt that when the Cardinals roughed up Randy Johnson would hold the glove up. Finger was out, and depending whether or not it was touching the glove or how he was holding the glove in his hand, that they were able to detect what pitch was coming.
Yeah, a lot of times a guy on a slider would lift that finger completely off the glove.
Schumacher, good at bat with a leadoff base hit.
I told him he's going 4 for 4 with a home run and 4 RBIs today.
And his response?
I don't want to roll over on a pitch or pop anything up.
Around the Horn brought to you by Auto Tire. Crawford, Upton, Gross in the outfield. Longoria, Bartlett, Iwamura, Pena along the infield. Diner, Navarro is behind the plate. Auto Tire around the Horn. 30 career starts from Matt Garza. Here's the second baseman, Miles.
He has one of the newer gloves where originally it was designed with the finger to be on the outside, but then they put a finger hole where he can slide that index finger right into the sheath on the outside so you don't give away pitches.
Albert Pujols on deck.
Trying to get Miles into this game. He's kind of been the odd man out, but he has a better than 400 average career-wise in interleague play.
Well, I know that this is the first inning. Probably won't see a bunt in this spot, and certainly with Pujols on deck. But if the Cardinals are leaving so many on, would you expect Tony maybe to start being a little bit more aggressive? Bunts, hit and runs, stealing bases, those kinds of things. Miles with a base hit to left.
I expect a base hit to left.
2 of rage for Albert, who saw his streak come to a close last night. Stopped at 42 games. He was frozen on that final at bat of the game for Pujols on a curveball.
Yeah, it might have been the best curveball that was thrown last night, and Albert almost tipped the hat to the pitcher and said, "Yep, you got me." But one streak comes to an end, you start a new one the next day.
But I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. Just trying to generate some offense.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to put it in that situation to sacrifice somebody and then they have first base open for Albert. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think you can do that. And, we kind of saw where Tony there for a little while, and he has done it with Aaron Miles, a single hitter in the 2 spot, and Ryan Ludwig, some thump in the 6 spot, trying to generate more extra base power at the end of the order. That was part of the problem. You know, you get down, once you got past Gloss, many times you had 4 singles hitters in a row.
Pujols is hitting .347, 8 home runs, 27 RBIs. The first pitch taken low. We always talk about protection behind Albert Pujols, and you see what he's done with runners in scoring position, just a .235 average. But the other side of that, you got to get guys on in front of him too. First and second, back-to-back singles for Schumacher and Miles, both to left. The 1-0 pitch to Albert. Oh, good rip. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pujols is so balanced at the plate. And the stance, I don't remember it ever changing over the years for Albert Pujols.
Just thinking what a luxury that is to have so much confidence in your ability that you don't have to tinker with your stance day after day. Or probably one of the biggest superstars ever that had a different stance every other day was Cal Ripken Jr.
1-1 pitch. And guys will switch their stances just because they're in a rut or they're not comfortable.
Well, he's never been in a rut
and that's
or
the
not
point.
Comfortable.
That's right. Sometimes he'll say that his hands, he'll go back and look at video and his hands drop. And he said that's the one time that he'll notice that he gets into a little bit of a funk. Also, when he's not hitting well is when he's out on his front foot. Doesn't strike out often, but you'll see a lot of ground balls.
Yeah. Can't keep the hands back.
2-1 pitch. Pujols hits a grounder slowly to short. Second and third with 1 out.
Well, productive out. Both runners advance. Bartlett, a tricky little play as he comes in and then kind of relax a little bit, and a high throw and wide, and look at Pena does a good job to stay on the bag.
Here is Duncan, the left fielder today. 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, and hitting .268. 2 for 4 with a home run last night, the only run for St. Louis.
You know, our roundtable discussion, you know, I don't want anybody to think that I was not thinking that Duncan is capable of hitting 40 home runs in a season. He and Albert Pujols are the only 2 to start out their first 2 years in their career with 20 or more home runs. The fact is, he did it the second half one year as he came up late in a year and had a tremendous second half. And then last year, or this is in his career, but you know, then last year he had the good first half, and then due to injury had a poor second half.
0-1 is popped up on the infield. Who wants it? Shortstop Bartlett, 2 away. Duncan pops out, and it'll be up to Troy Gloss.
And you know, for a young team, and this is part of my scenario, is you got a lot of young hitters. You know, they know they're stranding runners, so they try to do a little too much. And that was absolutely the worst thing that Duncan could have done, is pop up that one with 2 men in scoring position. Now you put the burden on Gloss, who's swinging the bat better right now than any point of the season we've seen, but it's with 2 outs.
Almost a home run last night off the top of the wall, turned it into a triple. A lot of near home runs lately too.
Yeah, he's hitting ball with power to the opposite field. He's getting real close.
2 outs, second and third. Gloss up the middle, base hit. Game is tied. They're going to wave in Miles. Throw by Upton to the plate. He is safe, and the Cardinals have the lead. 2-1.
That's a pick-me-up right there. And 28 RBIs. That takes over the team leadership now. Gloss still not hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but a productive game. And he drives in too. Close play here at the plate. The throw just slightly up the first base side, and that's the difference between safe and out. Leaves the back door open for Miles as he slides across the plate ahead of the tag. Nice going, Troy Gloss.
28 RBIs on the season. And a 2-out base hit. And this is Ludwig. Look at the numbers for Ludwig. Great start, hitting .330. 8 home runs, 25 driven in, runs batted in, and Troy Gloss is your leader, 28.
See that with only 2 home runs, and we know those home runs will come.
His swing looks completely different. Quicker, shorter, more compact.
All coinciding with being hit in the elbow.
Yeah, you're right. Ludwig pops it up. Bartlett with the shades down will make the catch on the outfield grass. A 2-out RBI base hit from the Cardinal third baseman. After 1, 2-1 St. Louis. Sports Ultimate nightly highlight show is here. The final score. It's a 2-1 St. Louis lead over Tampa Bay. Final score is the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. Al, that's the final score tonight at 10:30 on FSN Midwest.
Forward to it.
Oh yeah. This homestand, Gloss is 11 for 19. 7 RBIs. And remember, he really had struggled at this ballpark, and that's Garza between innings. Not happy after that base hit by Gloss with 2 outs. He's stomping around. He's upset. Hey.
He's from Minnesota. Garza is of Mexican descent, is California native, and played with the Twins last year, and really an outstanding young player.
Navarro into center. Schumacher will make the catch. Was watching during BP today. Down on the field, the ball was really carrying. Warming up here in St. Louis.
Well, naturally, it's going to jump a little better during the day. Gabe Gross. Saw earlier this year with his former teammates, the Milwaukee Brewers.
1 out, nobody on, and the pitch is taken for a strike on the outside corner. Just a gorgeous afternoon here in St. Louis. Glad to have you along here on your home of the Cardinals, FSM Midwest.
I mentioned the Cardinals now in 3rd place. Milwaukee 2.5 games behind in 4th place.
Slowly hit. Gloss bobbles, throws, and not in time. It scoots away from Pujols, but Silent George says, you're not going anywhere. Stay here at first base. That's George Hendrick, the first base coach of your Tampa Bay Rays. Not the no, didn't say it. Won't get fined. The Rays.
Seeing well off the line, just kind of a hit there. Look at that bobble. Sets himself and throws a little bit offline and scored a infield base hit. And defense alignment was what created that, because he was so far off the 3rd base line on that little curly Q shot. Put a little chalk on it.
So base hit for Gross, and here's the shortstop, Bartlett. Bartlett, a fly ball into shallow right. Pujols going. Ludwig there too, but drops between 3 of them. 73 degrees right now here in St. Louis. Wrap up the homestand tomorrow, and then we head out west. The Cardinals will enjoy their first off day on Thursday in between series against the Dodgers and the Padres.
Bartlett, last year's starting shortstop from Minnesota, came over in the Garza trade for Delman Young and others.
Boy, Garcia is working really hard up here in the booth again.
It's hard for me to tell because his pace is always the same.
Nothing in 2 the count. I thought you'd be in a better mood, Al. You're in a T-shirt. You're not in your Fox. Well, you're in your Fox issued shirt, not a T-shirt, golf shirt.
I'm dressed.
No suits today.
No, I'm dressed for the occasion. This beautiful weather, and I'm out here watching the Cardinals and the Rays, two very good ball clubs.
You had an enjoyable time on the pregame show, the round table.
Yeah.
I think we ought to make that a regular segment with you.
Yeah, well, you can do that if you want.
Up the middle, that's a base hit. Tampa Bay now with 4 hits. Well, tomorrow the Cardinals are offering tickets in select all-inclusive areas for only $75. It's not the normal rate. Reduced prices. That includes the 2-hour buffet, complimentary beer and soda. And it should be a real special afternoon. Stan the Man will be here. Pregame ceremony with the Man. And it's also the replica statue day. Find out more at STLCardinals.com. We'll be in the Champions Club. Al, Dan, John Mabry, 300 of our closest friends, and Danny Cox. We'll talk about the defense here with 1 out and runners hit first and second and the pitcher up.
Albert playing way in, looking for the bunt. Brendan Ryan playing closer towards third, so if Gloss came in, possibly he could get there and be the man at third base.
Garza pushes it towards first and foul.
Not a bad idea, as he sees Albert just charging very aggressively. He just tried to punch it and hit it hard enough to get by the drawn in first baseman. Dan, I'm going to get you one of those hats to wear.
That'd be very, very nice, Al. I appreciate that. Any kind of gift from you, I'd take.
You know what? That'll go with your yellow.
Our bowling shirts.
Your yellow canary shirt. You know, canary yellow shirt that you love to wear.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Al, I can say without a doubt it's not part of my wardrobe anymore.
I have a feeling that you probably somehow conveniently lost that shirt.
Well, believe me, I went looking in the closet. And if you can't spot that shirt, you'll never find it.
It was glowing.
Had to close the closet door to make sure I get sleep. 1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out.
I think we need camouflage shirts.
We do have the Bass Pro Shops hunting and fishing show on. Maybe they can send us something.
Yeah, I think, with our logo.
Great idea, Al. 1-1 pitch. Swinging away and a strike. 1 ball to 2 strikes. Cubs and Pirates tied up 1-1. That's early on in the bottom of the second. Had to retrieve our lucky bird after you threw it again last night. Hasn't been too lucky though lately. Curveball, see ya. And they'll stomp back to the dugout again.
Tim, what do you think? You think he'll last 9 innings?
Back to the top of the lineup. Iwamura.
Here, Wainwright's already got his pitch count up to 41 pitches here in the second inning.
First and second with 2 outs. There's a curveball.
This is a better curveball we've seen last couple starts. And he's very good at home this year. Wainwright 3-0, ERA just over 2.
Velocity has been better too. Oh, 1 pitch. In the air to right. Ludwig can't make the catch, but the bases will be loaded. Wainwright almost collided with Molina trying to back that play up. So bases loaded now for Carl Crawford.
Ball hit out there and a base runner all over the place. There's 2 outs, young man. Gabe Gross sitting there forgetting there's 2 outs. Just take off and run and should have a run on the board. Should be a tie score. Cardinals and Wainwright are thankful it's not.
So bases loaded for Crawford. Lined out to short his first time up. There's a better curveball again.
Yeah, he's got that real good curveball. See, I mean, there's been at times where I thought that, you know, and Jason LaRue kind of talked about, I think it was when we were in Colorado, he said we're in the bullpen, he had a much better slider, so we went with more sliders than curveballs. Well, that might have been the game plan for Colorado.
Up the middle, base hit. 2 runs will score. The Devil Rays are back on top. And it's now 3-2 Tampa Bay. I'm going to find myself $1 because they are now known as the Rays, Al.
I heard what you said.
It slipped.
I can't even repeat it because I'd have to pay $1 when we say that nasty former name. What the heck? I got a lot of dollars. Devil Rays. I'm not quite like Bob Gibson. He said, see the curveball, but this time it just a little slow and it ends up, you know, a little bit too high. You want to start that maybe more like the above the belt and have it break down out of the strike zone. That one was so high that it broke to the waist.
And a pickoff. Crawford will be in the rundown. Pujols will tag him out to perfection. That play never, well, no, it did work. It worked, Al. The pickoff of Crawford. Sunday, it's the groundbreaking show that earned 4 Emmy nominations, combining sports and science. We call it Sports Science. And that'll be this Sunday right here on FSN Midwest. And now they're going to take a look at Cheap Shots. Cheap Shots tomorrow at 9.
Disappointed they won't have any video of me.
You are not a cheap shot artist. Play the game on the up and up, Al.
Tony La Russa may argue about that.
Now, what were you telling me yesterday?
That was one of his 5 regrets in life.
Because?
Well, when he first got to the big leagues as a first base coach for the White Sox, he said, I knocked down Lamar Johnson. And his regret is that the White Sox, and he in particular, didn't do anything about it, and he didn't throw a punch at me.
As a first base coach, he wanted to run out and punch you.
And I kind of said, I want to know what his other 4 are. Regrets in life. Yeah, that was 1979, and he told us this when we were 1996.
It is amazing when you go visit with Tony La Russa, you might ask him about a random game. Regular season game when he was with the Oakland A's or the Chicago White Sox, and he'll tell you who was in the lineup, why they played that day, the situations. It's just amazing.
And sometimes a reference point will be a nondescript player that you can't even remember, and yet he'll tell you some very interesting detail of what that person did in a game that you kind of have to look up and say, yeah, he did play in the big leagues.
Molina flies to right. There's a look at Tony La Russa closing in on some milestones here in St. Louis.
I did tell him that if he still wanted to, he could take a shot.
Oh, well, come on.
Oh, but it was interesting.
You're all family here now.
He goes, what would you have done? He goes, first of all, I probably wouldn't have this job today.
There's a great photo of him when he was upset, and I believe it was when, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was when he was with Oakland. And Terry Steinbach had been knocked down or something, and there was a bench clearing brawl. And there's a photo of him throwing the bat against the backstop.
I remember it, and was with Oakland.
Let's just say he gets a little intense. Wainwright, ground ball to third. Longoria is there. 2 away. This date in baseball history. And as always, it's brought to you by Schnucks. 1970, Hank Aaron becomes the 9th major league player to record 3,000 hits. We always talk about the home runs, but he was such a well-rounded player, Al.
Oh, just one of the absolute greatest players to ever play the game, and nobody ever talks about him when you talk about the top 5.
How can you not?
One time when he was young, I mean, he had great wheels, and he could do so many different things. 3,000 hits. Had the home run record until last year. Some people believe he still does.
I asked Tony about that, and he said that he likes to divide up the eras, and that's how he views the home run record in eras now, because the game has changed, ballparks have changed, harder baseballs, better equipment, bigger players, whatever the case may be, but he chopped it up into segments.
Yeah, I think that probably is a good way to look at it.
Yep.
And a lot of people still look at the golden era of baseball as, 50s and 60s.
Garza won't get Ryan. That's a base hit. Kind of an emotional guy out there, isn't he?
Well, I like that. You can kind of tone it down a little bit.
You like that? No.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You can't turn up the intensity. You can't, but you can turn it down a little bit and use it, to channel that adrenaline, that energy for a positive. This kid, is currently designing his future home in Fresno, California, and following his career, he wants to pursue a degree in civil engineering.
Brian Barton wants to be an astronaut. That's what he told me the other day.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You want to be a baseball player.
Oh, no, I'm doing what I always wanted to do, Al. Sit next to you night in and night out. Doesn't get any better. Come here, big guy. Come here.
We're doing that lie detector test right now, and the operator just.
This is what I always wanted to do.
Fun. Really?
You grew up in St. Louis. You listen to Jack Buck.
Well, after your baseball career, though, didn't you?
No, this is what I wanted to do. A line out to short. Cardinals straying a runner. And Al, I'm going to give away the bird. It's out of the booth. 3-2 Tampa Bay. Ellie and Sarah Salke. Happy 18th birthday to Ellie, and congratulations. She just graduated from Ladue High, and she is headed to Indiana. So congratulations to Ellie, and happy birthday.
A lot of St. Louis graduates end up in Indiana. What a neat campus that is.
3-2 Tampa Bay. Here is B.J. Upton. We finally have seen that play work. The fake throw to third and the pickoff over at first, and it worked.
Well, the Cardinals have really had a nice rundown. Pitch perfection. The guy, runner at third, couldn't even think about advancing.
Ground ball hit to second. And that's the first out as we start playing here in the top of the third. We are in high definition, crystal clear FSN HD this afternoon. The Rays have made a couple of critical mistakes on the bases. They could have bigger innings.
How about get a guy picked off at first, leave too soon on trying to manufacture that or steal a run there at third base. Gross for getting there with 2 outs on the base hit to right field. Dodging back and forth instead of just putting his head down and scoring.
Here's Carlos Pena.
You like the shift?
You are a huge fan of the shift. More times than not, it works. They always had the big shift for Bonds. Then we saw it with more players as the years have gone by.
But it seems like we do it more than any other team on left-handed batters. And we still continue to pitch them away.
Saw Molina's pickoff, the 22nd of his career. Third already in 08. And that pitch is popped up. Long way to go. Gloss near the line. Tough play, and he makes the catch. That's not an easy play.
That defense worked. Made it extremely tough because of the defense. Popped it up. It's right down here. And Gloss, remember, he was playing shortstop. We always say it's a better angle for the shortstop on a play like that. And Gloss just proved it.
Molina also committed an error. His 4th of the season. He committed just 6 errors in 2007. This pitch is popped up and out of play.
But there's sometimes, where a player is charged with an error, but really with a little help from a teammate, they can avoid it.
Al, I had to give away our good luck charm.
I understand. So we need a new good luck charm, folks. One that works more than one night.
That's right. Worked one night, and then the other 2 nights.
We thought we had something too, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. You can just feel it, the vibe.
We put our bird in the cage every night, pack the good luck charm away, and then it disowned us.
Were you a superstitious guy? Did
only,
you have
only when it worked?
So give me your longest running standing superstition that you're not going to step over or step on lines. You're going to step over lines. That's off the mound and a base hit.
So you start talking about superstitions.
Did you have a particular meal that you had to eat?
No.
Want to win the ticket game? Go to StubHub.com. It's fast and easy. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals.
I'll tell you what I did one time in junior college. I told my buddies, all my teammates, I found this lucky rock. I found a rock, and before the game, I wrote my goals on there. No hitter, 18 strikeouts. As a hitter, I was going to get 4 for 4 with a home run, 6 RBIs, and the whole deal. I had a very short outing as the starting pitcher, like maybe an inning or 2. And I took that rock out of my pocket that I showed him earlier, threw it. After the game, my teammates went and found that rock and brought me back my lucky rock.
So did you use it after that?
After that, I had to just laugh and said, okay, you got me.
Here's Navarro. Fly to center.
So then I went to Stone Mountain, and I wrote on Stone Mountain and said, go pick this one up.
Yeah. Good luck. Wade Boggs, superstitious.
Yes. Chicken, everything was 7.
That's right. Got hit number 3,000 with the Rays. A home run, too.
He had some form of chicken for every meal before a game. The clock was measured at 7:17 when he would go out and start stretching, such and such things like that.
Who was the most superstitious guy you played with, or that you knew of?
Yeah, there's been a lot in this game of baseball.
You bet.
How many brain cells I've killed over the years? That's a pretty tough question for me.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot with such a hard question. Don't like doing that to you, Al.
Well, it's tough now for me to figure out from day to day what you're going to do next.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Navarro. Into right. Ludwig won't get there. Drops in for a base hit. His throw is cut off, and it's 1st and 3rd. Only in the 3rd, and Wainwright has allowed 8 hits.
Let's take a look at this breaking ball. They're sitting on a lot of breaking balls, but they're being elevated. One thing, too, his team is being very comfortable because nothing is going inside.
Gabe Gross still with all the hits. It's only a 3-2 game.
We're only in the 3rd.
1st and 3rd. There's a pitch inside. That's ball 1.
Well, I mean, that's after a while you get a little bit and say, wait a minute,
Pitch count at 61. You see 28 in the 1st, 17 in the 2nd. Here in the 3rd, already at 16.
And you thought, after getting the first 2 men out here in the 3rd inning, and he did the same thing in the 1st inning, retired the first 2, that it would be a relatively quick and he'd get things under control.
1-0 pitch. Out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Eight hits, 8 singles.
We talked about the Cardinals' lack of power in their lineup. Well, 8 singles, as you mentioned, for Tampa Bay.
Lost 2 men on the base, and one did eventually score, but had a bonehead base running mistake.
The Rays, with 2 outs in this series, they picked up 5 RBIs and hitting .643. Got to be able to put people away. Won last night 3-1. They lead this game 3-2. And here comes a 1-2 pitch from Adam Wainwright. On its way.
Set up inside on a changeup.
Two pitch. There's the curveball, a little low. 3-2. Runner from first off with the next pitch.
Fastball still the best pitch in baseball, but a lot of today's pitchers have trouble spotting it. You can make it more than one pitch just by being able to throw it in different quadrants.
Rose singled and scored back in the second. A 3-2 pitch. Hit out to right. Ludwig will back up in front of the track and puts it away. Devil Rays strand 2. Cardinals trail by a run. We're at Busch Stadium, game number 2 here on FSN Midwest. Cardinal baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by your St. Louis area Kia retailers. Kia, the power to surprise. By Aflac. Aflac, ask about it at work. And by Bank of America, the official bank of the St. Louis Cardinals. Just a block away, Mike Shannon's restaurant. There's Mr. Shannon. Moon Man.
It's his golf tournament.
Mike's?
Yeah.
Well, he's got the night at the races.
No, the night of the race. When is that? Got to be coming up, doesn't it?
Not sure. We'll have to ask him. A fastball and a strike to Aaron Miles.
Saw the guys carting out boxes and boxes of Cardinal giveaways for his night of the races. And you asked for one little plate, huh?
I didn't ask for the plate, but I'm going to take a plate. We got plenty of plates up here, Al. Look at this. This beautiful Albert Pujols plate.
So you'll get your china cabinet filled now.
Oh, yeah. Put Christmas dinner on that plate.
It's a very nice plate.
Probably don't want to throw that out of the booth.
No, I wouldn't.
Might
I
hurt
wouldn't think
somebody.
that. Unless you have Brian Barden to pilot it. You know, our astronaut, Dan.
And Miles hits one down the right field line. One hops off the wall. And it goes over the wall, and it's a ground rule double. So the tying run in scoring position for Miles at second base.
Said he's a .400 career hitter in interleague play. Off to a good start in 08. Single the first time, came around to score on the lost double, and now here a ground rule double as bounces and then goes into the stands. You saw Gabe Gross put his hands up to help out the umpiring crew and signify that it's the ground rule double over the fence. Got to get Albert going.
Miles 2 for 2, single and a double. And the great Albert Pujols will dig in. Grounded out to short.
Big gap out in right center.
One thing about Tampa Bay last night, they went right at these Cardinal hitters. Not a lot of messing around. They pounded the strike zone.
Hey, if you have confidence, see that gap out in right center.
Pujols, 2 hops to short, hitless in this series. And the runner cannot advance over to third. So here's Duncan. He's 0 for 1 with a pop out to short.
Yeah, runners at second and third, and popped up to short for the infield fly rule. Then Gloss picked him up. But he's been a very productive hitter in his career during interleague play.
Interleague play started by Bud Selig, the commissioner of baseball, to try to jumpstart attendances, provide a little spark to the middle of the season. But to me, it has worn off. And you sacrifice too much to make these games available.
Right. Too many series that just really don't make sense. That and really, you know, like the Cardinals, it doesn't really matter. They're always a big draw. Cubs draw. Boston, New York. You know, they will benefit small market clubs when they go to those sites.
Duncan off the end of the bat, out to left. Crawford is there. Miles to second. 2 down. Up to Gloss.
And you could see, you know, the natural rivalries, Mets, Yankees, Cardinals in Kansas City. But we don't need to have the Royals come here. We can go there and benefit their attendance. But this year, for whatever reason, we're playing the third consecutive year in Detroit. It makes no sense.
Detroit at Arizona. Gloss is 1 for 1, a 2-run single with 2 outs back in the first. Now the team leader in RBIs. 3-2 Tampa Bay. You're talking last night. You spoke to Troy Percival, the closer of the Rays, last year with the Cardinals, and he said when Gloss starts hitting it with authority to the opposite field, that's when he starts to get locked in. He had a triple last night off the wall in right center field.
In Milwaukee, you know, he had home run pulled back over the right field wall. He's hit in 5 straight games and 6 of his last 7. 4 straight multi-hit games. What a homestand he's having. 11 for 19.
A 2-0 pitch. Tony La Russa, Tampa native, 1 win shy of 2,400 in his career.
And when this month is over, or very early next month, he'll have managed better than 2,000 games wearing the Cardinal uniform.
7 divisional titles, 2 National League pennants, World Championship in his 13 seasons with the Cardinals. Gloss chops 1 to third. Longoria stays with it, makes the throw, and the Cardinals strand a runner. They've stranded 3. We played 3. Tampa Bay leads it 3-2. Back to action, and base hit up the middle for Bartlett. These Rays are pounding the baseball. All singles though. 9 hits and 9 singles.
Bartlett 2 for 2. The first time they put the first man, or the leadoff hitter of an inning, on. And with the pitcher coming up, Troy Gloss went over the defensive plays. He's the quarterback. He'll get what Tony wants from the bench, then he'll relay it to the infielders with hand signs, but it's usually always voice command to the pitcher.
Troy Gloss in at third, and a quick move by Wainwright. See what the Cardinals are going to be aggressive with this, with Gloss and Pujols charging. We haven't talked much about the elbow of Albert Pujols. No reason
need to. Yeah, no need to.
All the opposing teams come in, they ask us, boy, we hear this big story with Pujols' elbow, and it's been something he's been dealing with for a number of seasons now.
Yeah, about 4 years. And
He's charging. Pujols, bare hands, only plays to go to first.
Dr. Paletta told me the day that everyone made the big issue about it, his intent that day was to give a positive report on the elbow, and some media outlets ran with it and sounded like it was doomsday.
Iwamura will be the hitter. He has grounded out to first and also singled. Runner at second is Bartlett. Three to 2 Tampa Bay. They have stranded 4. The Cardinals have left 3 on. Tampa Bay has out hit the Cardinals 9-5. This guy can flat out play some defense.
Got to keep an eye on Bartlett back there. He's a pretty good base stealer, and looked like he almost picked a spot where with Troy Glaus off the third base bag, he was trying to size up his jump. See Ryan kind of shadowing him behind second base.
Popped up. Glaus is over with a play. 2 outs. Iwamura was a 5-time All-Star, as we mentioned before, in Japan. 6 times he won the Gold Glove. Big 12 baseball returns to FSN tomorrow. 2 of the nation's top teams take to the field. Mizzou, Nebraska. Coverage begins at 3:30 right here on FSN Midwest. Friday night, Aaron Crow, who's a right-handed pitcher, junior, won his 12th game for Missouri in 13 starts. 12-0 on the season. And that's a new school record, those 12 wins. They've got great pitching at Mizzou and also great pitching in Nebraska. And both are top 20 teams.
Both playing in the Midwest that you really wouldn't think would be a hotbed for college baseball, but doing the job, right?
Big time. 0-1 pitch to Carl Crawford, who has a single and an RBI.
Max Scherzer going to help the recruiting program for Mizzou.
Kyle McClellan originally was to go to Missouri, then signed with the Cardinals. Forego college and started his pro career. 1 ball, 1 strike. About 5 or 6 teams in the Big 12 are in the top 25. You've got Texas and Nebraska, Missouri. Baylor's good. Texas A&M may win the national championship. Long look by Wainwright. 1-1 pitch. Two and 1 the count. Crawford came in batting .274. Lined out to short first time up, and then that base hit RBI. The 2-1. Outside, 3 balls and a strike, and Upton is on deck. Crawford and Carlos Pena, Scott Kazmir graced the cover of the Rays media guide.
Getting to 2 outs hasn't been necessarily a problem for Wainwright, but getting the third one has.
Been a struggle today for Wainwright. The 3-1 pitch. Here it comes. 3-2.
Good pitch there with the fastball.
Just like with Looper the other day, you just try to gut through the start.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could just see how much improvement from Looper. A game like last night would have been just a very lopsided loss, and he kept his team in there with a chance to win. Didn't happen, but he.
That slice is just foul.
Looper's learned how to minimize the damage when he doesn't have his best stuff.
Crawford 6'2", 215 pounds.
But you know how I say that he was the first to really get that long-term contract
and a 4-year deal,
and to agree to it when maybe, you know, he knew they'd turned the corner, but as a team they hadn't yet. And now it's easy for some of these guys to agree to the multi-years because they got a great nucleus. I heard somebody said that this may be the worst team in the next 6 years for the Rays, and they're pretty good right now.
Yeah. This pitch is popped up. Shortstop Brendan Ryan makes the play. 3-2 Tampa Bay midway through 4. West Airlines 3-2 Tampa Bay. Baseball on FSM Midwest brought to you again by Southwest Airlines. Youngsters here at the ballpark. Oop. Can't quite get him. That'll keep you entertained for a little while. Little gum, little ball game. Ludwig takes a ball, and we're underway here in the bottom of the 4th.
Happy Armed Forces Day to everyone. You know this is Armed Forces Day?
Now I do, Al.
President Harry Truman led the effort to establish a single holiday for citizens to come together and thank our military members for their patriotic service and support of our country.
2-0 pitch. Fouled back. This year when you can't be home to watch the Cardinals on FSN, check out MLB.tv. And you can go online to watch every out-of-market Cardinals game of the season live. For details, visit STLCardinals.com, where baseball is always on. 2-1 pitch to Ludwig. A little different pace of this game compared to last night.
Which ended up at 2 hours and 32 minutes. I don't think anybody's objecting to this nice weather.
Not at all. Gorgeous day here in downtown St. Louis. 3-2 Rays here in the bottom of the 4th. Ludwig pulls it foul.
You know, there's some springs we'd be complaining about this. It's only 73 degrees, but not this spring.
Look up at the big scoreboard. Lance Berkman, 15 home runs, and he has been on a tear, and one of the reasons why Houston now in second place in the Central. And 15 is one ahead of Chase Utley. Home run lead in the National League. 3-2 is hit out to deep left center field. He gave it a ride at the track. It's at the wall. It is a home run. Ryan Ludwig ties it up. 3-3.
Troy Glass earlier in this game took over the RBI leadership. Now Ludwig takes over the home run leadership. One better than Albert Pujols with number 9.
Ball just jumps off his bat. Let's take a look at the slow-mo cam. This is our suntrip.com cam.
Well, you see it out there, just getting out on the sweet part of the bat, the follow through.
9 on the season for Ludwig. Here's Molina. .416 feet, the estimated distance of that home run.
And we were talking about Berkman, second in the National League in hitting, just behind Chipper Jones, who's at 423, but Berkman flirting with 400 at 394. Leads the league in home runs and RBIs.
Longoria with it. Molina out number 1. Brings in Wainwright, grounded out to third. He's 0 for 1. Second home run allowed by the Rays starters in the last 2 games. But prior to last night, the starters for Tampa Bay had not allowed a home run since May 2nd at Fenway Park in Boston.
That was better than 80 innings.
Wainwright on the first pitch fouls it back. Now you would figure that the National League teams would have the advantage in interleague play playing at home.
You would think.
But we saw last night Sonnenstein had a couple of base hits.
Yeah, the Angels been a good hitting team, but they lose, their DH playing in National League parks.
For the Rays, they also have a top prospect, a pitcher, David Price, a lefty out of Vanderbilt. They expect to be an unbelievable pitcher at this level.
Wasn't he a number one?
Number one, yeah,
in the country.
Yep. Let's see where Josh Hamilton, former Rays pick, before he ran into his problems off the field, is having great success with Texas. Played with Cincinnati last year. There's Hal McRae talking with Brian Barton. 1-2 pitch.
How about you know about Longoria, who's playing third base. He was the Rays' #1 prospect in baseball's best farm system, according to Baseball America. Price is #2, even though he's never thrown a pitch professionally going into the season.
Wainwright to Longoria. Settles and throws. Let's take a look at the Aflac trivia question.
Aflac!
Who is the all-time batting average leader in interleague play? They have to have 150 ABs. Wally Joyner, 60 for 170, a 353 average. I know Larry Walker has very good numbers. He's in the top 5.
Aguilera Ordonez was there. Albert, I think, was 6th. Brendan Ryan 1 for 1 today.
2 outs, nobody on, and Ryan takes a ball. Cardinal pitchers lead the league in hits. We're talking about the Cardinals and interleague play and how they should be at a distinct advantage at home. 20 hits, 12 RBIs this season. Cardinal pitchers hitting just over 200. 2 balls and a strike. Popped up. Pena called off. Cardinals get a home run from Ludwig. They tie it up. For Ryan Ludwig, number 9 on the season, a solo shot, 26 RBIs. We move to the 5th. It's 3-3. What's on Tap is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light keeps it coming. And game 3 is tomorrow of the series. Cal Loge, Edwin Jackson. And tomorrow, 12:30 on KSDK. Jay Randolph and Ricky Horton will have the call. 5th inning rolls in. That ball is smoked into right center field. Schumacher on the move, won't get it. Ground rule double for B.J. Upton. Upton became the first Ray ever to have a 2020 season last year. 24 home runs, 22 steals, a load of talent. Pena right now is the only position player for the Rays that does not have a hit.
Right in the middle of the strike zone, and Schumacher couldn't catch up to it. Upton made a similar play last night with ease.
Carlos Pena. A 3-3 game here in the 5th.
Got to answer when teammates score. You got to shut out the opposition. Leadoff double doesn't help.
Pena, first pitch to him. Low and inside. Tampa Bay led 1-0 after a half inning. Cardinals came back with 2 in the bottom of the 1st. Tampa Bay 2 in the top of the 2nd. Cardinals tied up in the bottom of the fourth with a solo home run by Ludwig. 46 home runs last season for Carlos Pena. No one expected that. He came out of nowhere to do it. Little liner and a tough play. Miles backhands to first. Got him. Great play by Miles.
And he also checked to see what Upton did. As Upton went back to the bag, good base running on that situation. I don't know if he might have been able to throw him out at third, but tough break for Pena and a real nice play by Miles. That ball eats up a lot of second basemen. You saw it check the runner, the lead runner. See, Upton not sure, so he has to go back. He wasn't sure if it was going to be maybe even caught. So a nice play by Aaron Miles, who's having a good all-around day.
Mentioned Edwin Jackson gets the start tomorrow. Right-handed pitcher, 24-year-old for Tampa Bay. He was with the Dodgers back in 2003. Here's Longoria. Longoria singled, picked up an RBI in the first, and singled in the third.
Longoria, only 22 years of age, selected from Durham to AAA on April the 12th.
Runner goes, throw down to third. An odd tag from Gloss, but still they get the out through his legs.
Hey, that counts too, you know. Got a big right-handed bat in blocking the view of Molina, and a good jump by Upton, but you got a cannon or a throw. Look at the tag right between the legs.
Suntrip.com. A look at this tag from Troy Glaus. Through the
real
legs,
good look there. Style, points, everything.
You don't see that every day, do you?
No, you don't. Upton made a good base running play earlier on the ball hit to Miles, but there probably can't believe he gets thrown out there. So Molina and his shotgun arm getting one at third and one at first today.
Count of 1 ball, 1 strike. Longoria swinging for the fences, strike 2.
Yeah, he's coming out of his shoes there.
Some bad base running today for Tampa Bay. Mistakes cost them the possibility of having a big lead. Another curveball, 2-2. Saw the third pickoff of the season for Molina earlier.
Lost 3 men on the base paths. A tie game, that makes a difference.
Threw it right by him on a 2-2. Strikeout of Longoria. So after the double, Upton caught stealing. Midway through 5, 3-3. Now some base running mistakes by the Rays today.
That's right. Third pickoff of the year by Molina. Gets the third out here. And watch Gabe Gross. Boy, he's not sure if this ball gets down. The only problem is it was 2 outs. He should have scored. And here they leave too soon. The Cardinals work the rundown play to perfection. And then here is the final one, the tag between the legs. So Molina's been busy. Cardinals have defense has helped out Wainwright as the Rays have 10 hits. And we're in the 3-3 tie.
Schumacher, Miles, Pujols. Cardinals half of the 5th. All tied up 3-3. Skip today is 1 for 2. Base hit to left. Popped out to short. First pitch to him. Taken a little low at 84 miles an hour. Schumacher is in center today. And Keel with the afternoon off so far. Pittsburgh in the top of the 6th leads Chicago 5-4. Mets and Yankees today, and the Mets bottom of 5 lead at 3-2. 1-1 pitch. Slapped. Base hit.
Nice piece of hitting by Schumacher. He'd been popping up a little bit. He'd been rolling over on some pitches, but now 2 for 3. And getting back to that line drive stroke.
This is Miles, 2 for 2.
He's over 400 as a career interleague play hitter, coming in and adds to it with a 2 for 2.
Hitting .298 on the season. A single and a double. And another base hit. He's 3 for 3. Schumacher will stop at second base. So 2 runners on again for Pujols. We saw this spot back in the first. He is 0 for 2 with 2 groundouts to short.
Now they're getting a little concerned as pitch count mounting or Garza, and there's only so long you can keep Albert down. Hitless in the series, and we haven't said that all year. Jim Hickey, the pitching coach, formerly with the Astros, and a good one out there for Joe Madden.
Take a look at our leaderboard, brought to you by Firestone. Pujols will settle in with runners at first and second, nobody out in the Cardinals half of the fifth. All-time interleague on-base percentage leaders. And Pujols is on this list at number 9. Barry Bonds at 501. You see Larry Walker. Pretty good names on this list. So chance here for Albert Pujols to do some damage. Nobody out. Runners at first and second. 3-3 game here in the fifth. First pitch to Albert. First pitch on the outside corner, 0-1. The next. We saw Longoria picked off in this spot back in the first inning. He was the runner at first, and Miles had a long lead over there, secondary lead.
But he could get a bigger one because Pena never flinched, and as long as that first baseman has that big lead out there off the bag, you can take advantage.
Everybody stops when Pujols comes up. No need to go get that hot dog just yet. Folks at home, they stop what they're doing to see this guy hit. One of the best. The 1-1 pitch. A check swing. Held up enough. 2 balls and a strike.
Sweeping breaking balls away.
Cardinals had a short-lived lead after 1. Trying to break this 3-3 tie. A 2-1 pitch on its way. Popped up. Get out of play. And it will. Right by James, our cameraman down there. 2-2 the count.
See how tough James is. Look at coming right into his action, but did not flinch a bit. Suntrip.com camera here as Navarro runs out of room.
2-2, nobody out. Pujols, base hit into left. Schumacher will be waved in, and the Cardinals have the lead. It's now 4-3. Albert with RBI number 28. 3 consecutive singles to start this 5th inning. 4-3 St. Louis.
Wasn't the prettiest swings as he expands his zone, but is able to hook a ball. Trying to throw that breaking ball down and away. Got it down, but not far enough away. So he goes down and gets it. And look at that plate coverage. So he just throws the ball, lifts it over the head of the third baseman, and the Cardinals take that lead.
Now there's activity in the Tampa Bay bullpen. A right-hander starts to get loose.
Well, he's down a high pitch count, only 69.
Here's Duncan. Still nobody out. Duncan is popped out to short, flied out to left. 0 for 2. Troy Gloss is on deck. 4-3 Cardinals. The 1-0. Little outside, 2 balls and no strikes. So the Cardinals may have Garza on the ropes right here. That is Gary Glover, right-hander in their bullpen. They've got 5 right-handers, a couple lefties out there. Foul ball. 2-1 the count. Duncan with a home run last night, his 4th of the season. Revolving door. Who hits behind Albert Pujols? Tony La Russa says it's going to be the hot hand.
Man, Chris has had a good homestand. Came into today's action 4 for 10 with that home run.
A 2-1 pitch on its way. Curveball and a strike. 2-2. One thing about Duncan is he has struggled a little bit in the onset, taking a lot of pitches and not as aggressive as we have seen him in the past.
Yeah, that's one thing. Because of his power production, you'd rather have him be very aggressive, make some mistakes, expanding the zone, with reason.
2-2. Strikeout. That's the first strikeout for Garza. Tomorrow the Cardinals offering tickets in select all-inclusive areas for only $75. Also the Stan Musial replica statue day. Find out more at STLCardinals.com. Here's Gloss. He is 1 for 2. A base hit back in the first. He's also grounded out to third. Cardinals with a 4-3 lead. Ludwig on deck. He is homered here today. And when the Cardinals do homer, more times than not, they are solo shots. Talked about it in the pregame. This team does have power potential. We just haven't really seen it. .6'5", 240 pounds. Troy Gloss up and in.
3-run inning has been very rare this year for the Cardinals. With 10 hits for the Rays, 9 for the Cardinals, both teams can say they've missed opportunities.
.20 pitch. 3-0. A question for Tony La Russa. Do you give Gloss the green light with the way that he's swinging the bat?
Yes. I think he would give him the benefit of the doubt anytime. Just expect your veteran to be a disciplined hitter.
3-0. Upstairs, and that's ball 4. Bases loaded for Ludwig. Well, Monday, the Cardinals begin a West Coast stretch. Features the Padres and the Dodgers. First up, Cardinals head to Petco Park. Tune in Monday at 8 right here on FSN Midwest. Bases loaded. We've seen 3 singles and a walk. Miles, Pujols, Gloss.
First strikeout this inning, first walk this inning.
Ludwig's home run. His 9th of the season, back in the 4th.
Never hit a grand slam.
First pitch to him. Chased a pitch. That one at 96 in our gun. Now Ludwig came up the other night, swung at the first pitch after walks in the inning. And here we see a walk to Glaus. First pitch a ball, and then the next pitch out of the zone, swinging through it. The 1-1. Garza, to his credit, goes right back to it.
Yep. Slider down and away, trying to get him to chase. Remember too that here's a low ball hitter, so if you make a mistake and put it in his wheelhouse, we've already seen that he can hit it out of the park.
The 2-1. Here it comes. Little inside, 3-1, and Garza just stares back at the home plate umpire.
I think he got, with reason, as looking for a slider away, and he throws a fastball in the inner part of the plate. And you know, a pitcher has to have some of that.
The 3-1 pitch. Ludwig takes ball 4. And a 2-run lead for the Cardinals, now 5-3. Second RBI on the day for Ludwig, now at 27.
Dan, you talked about earlier the emotions of Garza, and you just wonder that conversation with Navarro, who he's trying to calm him down. I'm sure Garza's saying, where was that 3-1 pitch? Well, or excuse me, the 2-1 pitch. It really doesn't matter where that one is, because you walked, you threw a bad one on 3-1. So there's a catcher trying to do what he can to help his pitcher, and also work a little bit with the strike zone of the umpire in a professional way.
Chance for Molina with the bases loaded. Still only 1 out. And that's a ball. See, even when he's receiving the ball back from the catcher, kind of snapping at it,
yeah,
a little bit frustrated.
Got to think in terms of, got Molina there, so just get the ground ball and get 2.
Hit to short, and they throw it away. A run will score. That's Pujols. Here comes Glaus. He will score, and Molina winds up at second base. Bartlett just threw it away. 4 runs here in this 5th inning, 7-3 lead.
They're going to score at a base hit, RBI, and then the E6. As he hits this one in the hole, tried to look to third to see if he has to play with the runner in front of him, and then he tried to reverse direction from a knee and throw to second base. It's wide. Probably still had time to set and throw out Molina at first.
Cardinals 7-3 with 1 out here in the 5th, and still more to come. Pitching change. We'll tell you about it when we come back. This portion of Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest brought to you by Rico. Move your ideas forward with Rico Dependability. By your local St. Louis Jeep dealers. And by Jack in the Box. We don't make it until you order it. Gorgeous afternoon for baseball here in St. Louis. Delighted to have you with us as the Cardinals now own a 7-3 lead. Gary Glover, 12th appearance in our Chevrolet call to the bullpen. His record is 0-1 with a 3.65 ERA.
He's just activated from the disabled list on May 12th. He's allowed runs in both appearances since that time. Very good last year as one of their primary setup men, their 7th inning man. Looking for the squeeze. They pitch out.
There is the starter, Garza. Costly error by the shortstop. Infield is drawn in, and Wainwright, as we have seen, can help himself. A 2-0 pitch to Adam Wainwright.
We're talking about sometimes a player gets an error, but maybe somebody else could help out. Here is the ball hit by Molina. Look at where the third baseman is. He has no idea that the shortstop wants to throw and get the runner out at third base. That's what forced the errant throw to second.
Pitch out, and it's now 3-1.
So you see the shortstop comes up. His only instincts is I want to go to third base, but this third baseman wasn't near the bag, so he spins his last second and tries to throw, and the ball sails on him, and a wide throw and opens up the inning. You get an error, but sometimes somebody else could avoid it or keep it from being an error.
3-2.
Want to do a 3-2 squeeze?
Swinging away.
I'd let him swing away.
Second and third, the 3-2 pitch. A strikeout of Wainwright. 2 outs. And it's up to Brendan Ryan. Well, you'd love to see a base hit and get 2 more.
Time you score 7 runs, it should be good enough for a victory. But still a lot of game left, and you'd love to pile on. That's what this team needs to do. Is offensively they kind of have to get over this little spell where they're stranded so many runners. They've got to open up, break open a game to where they take a little pressure off the bullpen, win a few games in a row, and everything will settle down.
Brendan Ryan, the 9th man to come to the plate. First pitch is a strike.
Glover led the Ray relievers with 6 wins and nearly 80 innings last year.
Second and third, the 0-1. Now 0-2 as Ryan is in the hole. .65, 225 pounds is Glover. Signed as a minor league free agent back in 2006. There's a look at Wainwright. Pitched over in Japan at one point in his career, and Ryan fouls it back as he chased a ball.
Chased a ball up in his eyes.
Originally selected by Toronto, 15th round back in 1994.
31 now.
0-2 pitch to Brendan Ryan. 1-2. Schumacher started this inning with a base hit. He's on deck.
Glover said he chased the ball up, For strike 2, I'll see if he'll go up the ladder. This time he resisted.
Two and two.
Good job to lay off the slider down and away.
Two. Talking with Brendan the other day, excited about going back on the West Coast. Born and raised in LA.
Hope he'll make a landing. Usually floating around 10,000 feet.
Two pitch. Strikes out. Cardinals pick up 4. They lead it 7-3. I love to play this game of baseball. I love to put on this uniform. Our Geico quote from the man, Stan Musial. Big weekend here in St. Louis. Stan the Man weekend, and we'll honor number 6 tomorrow. Replica statue day. And Stan will be here. Looking forward to that.
Loved his quote yesterday. He said, when Mrs. Musial and I came to St. Louis, the fans loved us and we loved them.
So when he picked up hit number 3,000, and this is the 50th anniversary of that, all the train stops. Instead of just going through to St. Louis, they would stop and let the fans greet him and wave and sign.
Initially, he wanted to sit out that game and have that historic moment in front of his home fans, but the last game of the series in Chicago, late in the game, they had a chance to win it, so he said, okay, let me hit, and got the 3,000 hit.
Mo Drabowski.
Yep, old teammate of mine.
1-1 pitch. Fly ball into right. Ludwig backs up, makes the catch. Navarro is retired.
Shame Drabo didn't have a sense of humor. No, he was one of the biggest characters of the game.
Cardinals power. 2008, 35 home runs. 24 of those solo. We've only had 3 three-run homers. 2 by Albert, 1 by Troy Gloss. Gabe Gross, 1 for 2 with a single and a fly out to right. We will be in the Champions Club tomorrow. That is sold out, but you can purchase your tickets for the Coke Pavilion, some of the other all-inclusive areas. And get here early, get your statue, and a chance to see the man in person. One ball, one strike.
Adam at 93 pitches, but we normally see him for about 7 innings per start.
Cubs have tied up their game. It's 5-5 with Pittsburgh, bottom of 7. Two outs. Here is Jason Bartlett. 2 outs. Nobody on. 7-3 St. Louis. Strike. Costly error by Bartlett at short. And as you pointed out, he wanted to go to third, threw to second, threw it away, and 2 runs would score. Part of that 4-run bottom of the 5th inning.
Well, we got 2 errors in this game, and with a little help from a teammate, neither one of them would have been executed.
There's Miles, can't come up with it. Had a great play on the backhand and almost came up with that one in the outfield grass.
I think he's almost thinking that he's got to slide to try and get to the ball, how he's going to pop up and throw out Bartlett, and just didn't make the connection. So Bartlett is 3 for 3. Of the 7 runs, 6 of the 7 were earned, and Cliff Floyd, who signed as a free agent after playing last year with the Cubbies, has been the DH a lot, but he's had knee surgery, and so he got off to a late start in the season.
And Floyd has had some memorable home runs against the Cardinals. But the Marlins, a couple times to beat the Cardinals. The Mets.
Very good hitter in interleague play, if memory serves.
1-0 the count. Cliff Floyd hitting .367, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs.
Just under 300, but 7 interleague play home runs. Had the knee surgery and missed 30 games, but he hit safely in his first 7 games as a Ray before going hitless on Thursday. Did not start yesterday's game. He's been used exclusively as a DH until this pinch hitting appearance.
Time called, 2 balls, no strikes.
I respect Bartlett, the runner at first base, his stolen base abilities.
Two outs, runner at first. Here comes a 2-0 pitch.
Flores is warming up in the Cardinal bullpen behind Adam.
Floyd rips it into right center field, and that's going to go to the wall. A run will score, cuts the lead to 7-4. Ball just jumps off of Cliff Floyd's bat. It always has.
Big guy, 35 years of age now, and what would his numbers be without some of the injuries that he's had? But they were playing very deep, and it still gets by him and to the wall, and Bartlett scores from first base. Suntrip.com camera and our slow-mo cam right there, brought to you by Suntrip, gives you all that action, and looks like Adams' day is through.
His pitch count at 101. And so
labored through it.
Randy Flores, who's part of the FSN spotlight, will come in. Up to the bullpen now. It's 7-4. This will be the 18th appearance for Randy Flores. Call to the bullpen is brought to you by Chevrolet. A record of 1-0 and a 1.64 ERA. He's been very good.
Very good. Very good at retiring the first batter, stranding runners. He's inherited more runners than any other Cardinal pitcher. And by the way, the 12 hits allowed by Wainwright ties a career high. Equals the same amount he allowed to Chicago a year ago. So a constant struggle all day for Adam, and many times it was like this inning where he'd get the first out, other times the first 2 outs, and then would have run into trouble. But scattered 12 hits, he walks 1. still can be the winner of this game.
Iwamura is the hitter. Back to the top of the lineup for Tampa Bay. The Rays trailing 7-4. They've out-hit the Cardinals 12-10. A little surprised to see that Joe Torre was not selected as a coach for the All-Star team. Then again, it might have been a big distraction at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, I'm sure. You know, in some ways, though, strategy-wise, it probably would have been a good move to have a former American League manager come to the National League team, but looked like they took all the other West Coast coaches, managers to be coaches. But I would think if Joe was asked, he probably would have declined.
Clint Hurdle is the manager. He's going to take Willie Randolph and Bud Black. Joe Girardi will be part of the staff for the American League. Also Terry Francona, of course, will be the manager. There's a broken bat and foul. Final year of Yankee Stadium, and they've got the All-Star game.
Thought I saw must have been an inaccurate report, because I thought that I saw Melvin was there, but I trust your knowledge more than mine.
It doesn't really matter. It's the All-Star game.
Hey, it's an American League game here.
Yep.
Time-wise. Well, the All-Star game does count. Dan, come on,
yeah.
it does count.
This one counts. Home field advantage, the World Series.
Maybe the National League can get it this year.
And I'm serious when I say this. You wish you could reward the teams monetarily, but the players make so much money it doesn't even matter. That's not the motivation. Ludwig puts it away. 7-4 Cardinals. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Two left-handers in the bullpen for the Rays, and one of those is J.P. Howell as he comes in for Tampa Bay. They've out-hit the Cardinals 12-10, but they trail 7-4. Nothing but sunshine here in St. Louis. Perfect day. 24-year-old J.P. Howell.
Former #1 draft pick of the Royals. And past offseason, J.P. spent his time at his former elementary and high schools giving motivational speeches about staying positive and preparing for college.
He wears 3 sets of everything. We were talking about superstitions earlier in the game. Shirts, socks, etc. Started this routine in high school as he felt most comfortable with the extra layers, and now it's turned into more of a superstition.
So you got 3 pairs of pants on?
I didn't say pants, Al. I said socks, shirts.
It's baggy enough if he wanted to. You know, I always thought everything was everything.
I said etc. Not everything.
Bring bit tape back. Roll tape.
He likes to stay in shape by
Be careful.
doing hot yoga. I'm dead serious.
I said be careful. Where's Jim Hayes when we need to know what hot yoga is?
I can tell you what hot yoga is.
I don't know if I want to hear it from you.
It's a series of poses conducted in a heated room. There's a ground ball by
3 layers of clothes.
I don't know if he's wearing the 3 layers then. 105 degrees and 100% humidity. Okay, it's time for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts night here at the ballpark.
Right on cue.
Thursday, May 29th, all Scouts and their family and friends can purchase discounted tickets, and all Scouts will receive a special Cardinals patch. Visit STLCardinals.com.
You know why you do hot yoga, don't you?
Well, it works the physical as well as the mental well-being.
Yeah, because it increases flexibility, improves circulation, and reduces stress.
Here's the 0-1 pitch.
Why do people give left-handers bad names?
Miles has had a big day with 3 base hits. 2 singles and a double. Cardinals lead it 7-4. Here comes a 1-1. Albert Pujols is on deck. He started a new hit streak today with a base hit back in the 5th and an RBI.
What the day for Miles.
Ooh, nasty pitch. Strikeout of Miles. And that's 2 away, and it brings in Albert. Well, this left-hander enjoyed the second quickest rise through the Royals organization in franchise history. Only Bo Jackson had a shorter trip to the big leagues. We mentioned a high draft pick. Attended Southern Cal and transferred to Texas. Finished up there. The 1-0 to Albert Pujols. 2 balls and no strikes.
When he graduated from high school and went to a Jesuit high school, he was 10-0 with a 0.09 ERA, earning Cal High Sports Player of the Year award.
3-0, smoked out to left center field. At the track, at the wall, goodbye, into the bullpen. Number 9 for Albert Pujols.
The catcher's glove goes up in the zone, and Albert sends it out of here. Regains the RBI lead and ties Ludwig with 9 home runs.
So a couple of home runs for the Cardinals today. Ludwig lead off the bottom of the 4th with a solo home run, and this solo shot by Pujols here in the 6th. Number 9 for Pujols. 1-2 on Duncan. .408 feet the distance of that Pujols home run. Grounder hit to second. And out at first after the bobble. 8-4 Cardinals as we move to the 7th. Earlier in the afternoon, the strikeout of Evan Longoria, and our Hardy's hot pitch of the game from Adam Wainwright.
See him load up on that pitch and just running inside and swinging over the top.
He's back in the 5th inning. Gorgeous afternoon. Glad you're with us here in St. Louis as the Cardinals have an 8-4 lead. Randy Flores still in the ball game. And this is Carl Crawford. Cardinals bullpen this homestand before today coming into play. 12 innings pitched, 16 hits, 7 walks, and an 0-2 record.
The last one from Izzy, the one from Vallone, and really there were the two appearances by Vallone, and the one by Izzy kind of roughed those numbers up.
Ooh, right back at Flores and a base hit. Leadoff single to start the 7th for Crawford. On base for the 2nd time today.
Be a pitcher charge those line drives. You're thankful that you got off to the side. Ball was rocketed right back at him. Upton's had a good day. Will it be a great day?
Single in the 1st, round out in the 3rd, and a double his last time up.
Springer throwing in the Cardinal pen now.
One constant this year out of the bullpen has been the guy on the mound, Randy Flores. Pitched very well.
Yes, he has. Got a brother at AAA. He's been up and down the Oakland farm system between the big leagues and AAA the last couple of years. And now he signed with the Cardinals, pitching at Memphis. There you saw Russ.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Instead, time called.
Crawford has 12 steals out at first base, so that was just called from the bench just to hold the ball.
And a base hit into right. First and second with nobody out. Now it gets a little bit more interesting.
Oh, it sure does. One thing about this young Rays team, they aren't going to quit. They're going to keep on swinging the bats. They don't hit for a real high average, but they sure have had a lot of base hits the last couple days.
Carlos Pena, runners at first and second, nobody out. Pena popped up and out of play. But Jason Worth last night, who's from this area, with 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, which tied the club mark for the Philadelphia Phillies in their win.
Brendan Ryan, that's really shadowing Crawford out at second base, trying to stay really close to him. Remember with Pena up, who just broke his bat, you know, they put that shift on where normally Ryan, the shortstop's playing on the first base side or right behind the bag. Gloss can't play as much in the hole. He has to be a little bit near third in case balls hit that way. So
14 hits for Tampa Bay, but they trail by 4 runs. It's 8-4. Held up. Top of 9, and the Cubs and Pirates tied up at 5. Time called. 1 ball, 1 strike. Next to Pena. Instead of check on the runner at second. Now he's set. Here it comes from Flores.
Good slider there. Probably the last batter he faces. You don't know. I'd love to see a double play, so Tony would keep him in there.
1-2 pitch. Marlins officially announced the contract extension of shortstop Hanley Ramirez. 6 years, $70 million. They did it at the site of their future ballpark, they hope, as Tampa Bay and the Marlins trying to get new parks.
It'll be interesting to see what they're going to do to the Orange Bowl site. Last time I was there, it was still like right in the middle of a residential area.
It is. I was just there and did a game this past year. Deep center field. Schumacher back, and it carries out of here. It's a home run. Pena cuts the lead to 8-7. 9th home run.
That was a bit odd as you see somebody that is accomplished defender is Schumacher. Looked like he had not tracked this ball at all. Molina set up away the breaking ball and gets it relatively close. But look at Schumacher. He's all over the place trying to get to where it is. Finally tracked it down, but it turned around, and that's it. I said it might be the last batter, but I was thinking he was going to be retired and not an 8-7 game.
Springer coming in. Tampa Bay cuts a lead to 8-7. Still nobody out. Russ Springer 1-0 on the season. Cardinals with a 1-run lead. It's now 8-7. Evan Longoria will be the batter. This game takes on a whole new look. Numbers for Springer. This will be his 12th appearance.
Apparently was not available on Thursday after throwing 15 pitches on Tuesday and 2 on Wednesday. I'm sure if you were asked Russ, he would have told you he was available. Do warm up, but that's part of the job, and he's been doing a long time at a very high level.
0-1 pitch. As we talked about last night, Rays are trying to lock up these young players. Cardinals have done that with Molina and Wainwright. Ryan Braun just signed his contract. Hanley Ramirez. So franchises can stay competitive, keep their players.
There's a lot of revenue sharing in baseball, so some of these smaller market teams now are not under the gun. Never have the revenue sources of the Yankees, Boston, Chicago teams, Dodgers, Angels, but it can be a little more competitive.
2-2.
And sometimes, Dan, it's probably hard for fans like a club like the Marlins or Tampa Bay or some of these other clubs that they don't necessarily put it all towards the major league talent, but they're really buying these good. The signability factor is not such a factor anymore. They draft players and sign them. And you see the Rays are locking them up. We just talked about Hanley Ramirez's contract with the Marlins.
It's good for baseball. I think it's good to see Tampa where they're at.
And it's good for baseball if you get some of these smaller market teams that can play very competitively and put out a winner. And at some point, a lot of these high market teams keep on having the older players, and they're going to, they're not infiltrating enough young talent that they're going to have a down period too.
When you think about the Yankees, when they in the mid to late 90s had their great run, early 2000s, you take a look at some of the guys that they developed. You know, Bernie Williams, homegrown product. Rivera, Pettit, Posada, Jeter. There's a base hit. Navarro is aboard with one out. And that's the tying run at first. Game Day Magazine is celebrating its 16th birthday, a keepsake edition that looks back at every one of the 140 issues that have helped chronicle Cardinals history since the first magazine published back in 1992. To get your subscription, call 345-9000. Tying run at first, go ahead run at the plate, Gabe Gross. Two flyouts and a single back in the second inning for Gross. 8-7 Cardinals. One out here in the seventh. It's a good pitch.
Somehow I think this game is not going to end with this current score.
Russ Springer was saying the other day that physically this is the best he has felt in a few years.
Alone starts throwing in the Cardinal bullpen.
Just inside, 2 balls and a strike. Pirates 7-5 over the Cubs, bottom of the ninth. Pirates keep it that way, all the more reason to win this game. Pick up a game on the Cubbies.
Absolutely.
2-2. Navarro, the runner at first base. 2 hits today. He's now hit safely in 9 of his last 13 games. 2-2 pitch. And Molina holds on for the strikeout.
Gross thought he was alive. Fouls it into the glove of Molina. He holds on to it. Now he thinks he still can stand there and shows the umpire and the batter that, yeah, that's 3.
Here is Bartlett with 2 outs and a runner at first. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Blocked by Molina. Nicely done. Last 2 pitches, he's got beat up.
Yeah, that hurt him.
That foul tip into his glove. He was shaking his hand after that.
Yeah, I think he got it in the fingertips, maybe the nail or something. And he's back there behind the plate. The umpire trying to give him a little time and gets his bare hand behind the glove and hopefully not the thumb or something. Says he's okay. He's tough. The umpire, professional courtesy, trying to give him a little time to make sure he's all right. But Gomes is on deck. Johnny Gomes.
Nate McLouth, the 2-run homer off of Marmol in the 9th. How about the start for Nate McLouth of the Pirates? A couple of home runs in the series here in St. Louis.
Again, I mean, there's a guy that you just kind of looked at and just thought he was a run-of-the-mill and nothing special. And he really hadn't been. But he's off to a tremendous start.
1-1 the count. Bartlett with no home runs this season. Shallow right field. Ludwig coming on. Did he get it? I say no. That's a trap.
Brian Runge, the first base umpire, very tough on a ball that's not really hit hard. And Ludwig tries to sell it, comes in on it. So good job by the umpires. You see, he traps it. He'll try to sell it and saying, yeah, hey, I caught it. I caught it. But camera work on our Sun Trip. And there you see Brian Runge. His father is Paul Runge, and his grandfather was an American League umpire.
So Johnny Gomes, he's got 3 home runs this season. He's got power, as we've seen in the past.
And their leading hitter in interleague play at 321 with 6 career home runs. 27 years of age. Much better hitter, nearly 100 points better when he's facing a lefty than a righty.
Runners at first and second. 1-run game. One pitch. Two balls and 1 strike.
I get the feeling that you just absolutely love this American League pace of game, right?
Oh yeah.
Just can't figure out what to do with your time. Gave up making paper airplanes. Now you're playing catch.
2-1 pitch. Miles makes the play. Time to stretch. 8-7. Cardinals on top. Mary Brown is today's merchandise winner. The Hyundai Long Drive Inning Sweepstakes. The Cardinals hit a home run. Mary Brown qualifies for the Hyundai Sonata drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer. The Albert Pujols plate giveaway today here at the ballpark. Al Reyes. He was outstanding in St. Louis and now at Tampa Bay. He has served as their closer at times, but now that they have Percival, he is late innings, 7th or 8th.
It's just kind of finishing up the game, last game in the old stadium for St. Louis, and just threw a pitch and had to have his second Tommy John surgery, so he missed all of 2006. Instead of signing with the Cardinals, he signed with the Rays because that's where he makes his off-season home. Knew that he couldn't play that year, so rehab there. And then he came back strong, didn't he?
Reyes, 1 pitch, 1 out. Loss retired.
Did an outstanding job with the Cardinals as a setup man. He was their closer before Percival got there this season.
Here is Ryan Ludwig. Solo home run back in the 4th. Cardinals need some base runners, need some runs, only up by 1.
Reyes can be real tough on right-handed batters. Last year he held them to a 187 mark.
Pirates win 7-6. Alfonso Soriano swinging one of the hottest bats right now in baseball. He was 5 for 5, 2 home runs, a double, 3 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. Cardinals saw him at a good time, just coming off the DL. Oh, 1 pitch to Ludwig. Slowly hit and a fair ball. Longoria, nice play.
Wow, how about the concentration by the young third baseman? as that ball skips right over the bag, and he doesn't miss a beat. Umpire in perfect position, just watching that ball, trying to get a good look. Sees that it's a fair ball, and Longoria, you don't have time as try and figure out what the umpire is going to call. You just go ahead and execute the play and then turn around and say fair or foul.
Molina, base hit, RBI back in the 5th. 2 outs and nobody on for the Cardinals. Big inning for St. Louis was in the 5th. Picked up 4 runs, then a solo home run by Albert Pujols in the 6th. They lead at 8-7. Tampa Bay with 17 hits this afternoon.
Both umpires home and first same time. It's the home plate's umpire's call until it gets past the bat.
Fly ball out to deep right field and caught. Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest. 8th inning rolls in. We come back. Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Live life to the ultra. By Chevrolet. See for yourself. Shop and compare at stlchevy.com. And by Sonic. It's not just good, it's Sonic good. 8th inning here in St. Louis. And it's 8-7. Cardinals on top. Cubs have lost.
Kyle McClellan, would you believe, leads the major leagues in holds with 13. He's earned a hole in 13 of his 18 outings. Allowed just 3 runs in his past 14 games. Covering a span of 16 2/3 innings. Never pitched above Double-A prior to this year.
Top of the lineup for Tampa. Iwamura, the second baseman. Round out in the 1st, a single in 2nd. Popped out 4th. And a fly out to right in the 6th. 2 balls, 1 strike. Tony not shy about young players, and once they make the club, putting them into pressure spots. He did that with McClellan early on, did it last night with Perez. And Perez did not disappoint. He said his warm-ups were nerve-wracking in the bullpen, but once he got on the mound, he felt great.
That's it. You know, you just.
McClellan will step and throw.
Have to have that ability just to, in your mind, you know, kind of be able to blank out all the distractions, the crowd noise, the whole atmosphere, and just go back to like it was with the first time you ever put on a uniform and strap them on. Because you're playing catch with the catcher.
Nobody getting loose in the bullpen. Here's Carl Crawford. Crawford rips it into right. As we talked about on the pregame show, Tony La Russa will probably use Perez 6th, 7th, 8th innings. And not in that closer's role. After the base hit, Crawford now needs something to run with to protect his hand.
Yeah, it's.
Will he be running here?
See, this is.
How about that? The
Crawford right there.
Yeah.
He has 12 steals. The Cardinals 14. And look, it's been a pretty good race the last few years between one Ray and the Cardinals team.
Already over 1,000 hits for Crawford. Did that in mid-April. He's only 26. Passed up a scholarship to Nebraska. He would have been an option quarterback, and also had a basketball scholarship to UCLA. Said he signed for $1.2 million back in 1999 with Tampa Bay. Just a terrific athlete.
And his brother was a top 5 pick for Arizona. The only time that's ever happened was with the Delvin and Dimitri Young.
One out. Crawford at first. And the ball gets away from Molina.
Well, see, Dan, there's what, you get young players, they pay so much attention to a base stealer, and they split their concentration of the plate, and the ball's way up there, still catchable, but in fairness to Yachty, he's expecting something down, and so he kind of pops it up, and they get the man in scoring position without having to steal or sacrifice.
Pass ball, I believe, on that ruling. 1 ball, 1 strike with 1 out. 8-7 Cardinals, tying run at second base.
Should have been pass ball, but like I said, once again, Yachty's thinking something down in the zone, and when the pitcher does that to you.
Base hit in this game is tied. The outfield is very deep.
Well, they have no chance. If they play shallow to try to guard against that with only 1 out, then they're going to just have a merry-go-round. They're going to, any kind of base hit, the guy's going to be in scoring position because it'll get by him.
2-1 pitch. Pena, who is homered, is on deck. Got a 3-run shot back in the 7th. Nobody up in the Cardinals bullpen.
We've seen the last couple outings that Kyle's control has been a bit off. Remember, he walked 2 runners in Milwaukee. They'd have a walk his last time out. So there's the pass ball that sends a runner in scoring position. Then he gets a good fastball there, fouls it off. Looks like that's supposed to be breaking ball. Ball's running, but it's out of the strike zone, not even close.
Out to visit Tony La Russa. Nobody up and throwing.
And interesting here that Tony's not sending Dave Duncan. He wants to have his word and wants to say something directly to his pitcher. Then he'll talk a little bit to the infielders, talk about the situation. But this is a stern message that, come on.
And also no Vallone to face Pena. Could have done that as well.
Well, I think they, you lose a little confidence in Vallone, because of what's happened earlier this week. But I think you're also looking at this Rays team. Even though McClellan is a right-hander and Vallone's left-handed, facing a left-handed batter, he believes that Kyle has good enough stuff, and he really, because of the 2 rookies down there in the bullpen, Parisi is not available after throwing 2 innings last night, I would assume. You got to save Franklin for the save situation. So he's saying he doesn't want to go to anybody else in the pen. This is Kyle's inning.
Nowhere close.
Unless it totally gets away.
We touched upon it. Last few outings, control has been a little bit of an issue for Kyle McClellan.
And a lot of time, a lot of the pitches we saw, particularly the walk to Upton, was terrific movement, but too much movement right out of the strike zone.
1-0 pitch. 2-0.
Front shoulder may be one thing that's flying open and producing that ball going totally away from the left-handed batter.
Pena, 3-run homer back in the 7th. Cut this lead to 1. The 2-0 pitch. That's nowhere close. 3-0.
Kyle just did a good thing there, stepping off for a second and just regroup. But As a reliever, you got to know when that ball's going where it's going. You throw 3 or 4 pitches all the same spot. It's your mechanics. And then he tries to ease it.
Bases loaded. And now somebody's up and throwing in the bullpen. It's a righty.
It's Franklin.
So here's a third baseman, Longoria. With the bases loaded and 1 out, McClellan needs a double play. Gloss is even with the bag over third. Regular depth for the other infielders, and the outfield is deep. High fly ball, shallow left center field. Schumacher makes the catch. Runner will tag up. And this game is tied. Run will score, and it's 8-8. Bottom of the 8th coming up here in St. Louis. All tied up at 8.
Well, we're back here in a tie game. Played nearly 3 hours. We've had a little bit of everything. We've had a couple crucial errors in this ball game. Molina's picked off a couple men on base. Wainwright catches a man right here. They've had sloppy base running. Ludwig's been a big part of scoring. He hits his 9th home run of the season. This is one nice play by Miles. Look at this tag play right between the legs by Troy Glaus. Albert Pujols hits a home run. And Randy Flores gave up a 3-run shot. There's a fair ball. So we've had a beautiful day for this wonderful game of baseball. We are into the bottom of the 8th. A tie game. 8-8. 29 hits in this game. The Rays have 18. The Cardinals have 11. They have stranded 9. Cardinals only have stranded 5 this game. Do have a couple home runs. And Kennedy is now going to hit for McClellan.
But Tampa Bay, 18 hits today.
And I was thinking before they scored it up, you could see where the Cardinals would have a chance to win this game in regulation, giving up 20 base hits or more.
Yep. Second inning of work for Al Reyes, the former Cardinal. It's 8-8. Cardinals half of the 8th as they have tied it up.
Lefties have had their way with Reyes this year.
Just outside, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Cleveland and Cincinnati just underway. Mets bottom of the 9th leading the Yankees 7-4.
Lefties are 4 for 8 against Al Reyes. But he had a very quick and efficient 1-2-3 against the righties in the 7th.
2-2 pitch. Brendan Ryan will be the hitter with 1 out.
Al Reyes kind of wanted to see if the Cardinals had interest in him returning once he got healthy, and of course looking at the right-handed relief spot going into this season was a very strong point for the Redbirds.
Brendan Ryan with 1 out, nobody on. Searching for his first home run of this season.
Wouldn't this be a nice time?
Cardinals with 2 runs in the first, 1 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th, another in the 6th. 11 hits. 0-2.
The one thing about some of the relievers, Reyes is one. First of all, Howell does a pretty good job of it, but they're able to spot their pitches.
Oh, 2 pitch. Schumacher on deck. Just got a piece. Something came flying off. He's got a little protection on his thumb guard. Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't his mouthpiece. He picked it up on dirt, but you see it there on his thumb. Little thumb guard. Kind of keep from having a bone bruise in the palm of your hand.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. And Brendan hits it into center. Hard hit, but that's out number 2. It brings in Schumacher.
A couple base hits and a couple runs scored for Skip in his 2-for-4 day.
Oh, 1 pitch.
Now Reyes had an entertaining way of celebrating his 38th birthday.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people celebrate birthdays in different ways.
0-2 pitch. Took some off that. 0-2. Couple of base hits for Skip today. 2 for 4. Single back in the first. Another one in the 5th. He's lined out and grounded out.
You know, I said he was going to have a 4-for-4 day. And it said a home run.
Slowly hit to Reyes. Pounces on it. Underhands, and we head to the 9th. 8-8. Rays and Cardinals here on FSN Midwest.
Tied at 8 as we go to the 9th at Busch Stadium. Don't forget, coming up after the game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, we'll have Tony La Russa's post-game comments. I'll go all access inside the Cardinals clubhouse for player reaction. And Rick Horton and Pat Paris will drop some knowledge about the key plays in this ball game. It's all coming up after the ball game. For now, we go back to Dan and Al.
All right, thank you, Jim. 18 hits, new high for the Rays this season. Cardinals with 11, 8-8 game here in the top of the 9th, and the pseudo closer, I guess you want to say right now, is Ryan Franklin, so he's into the ball game.
Yeah. He picked up a couple saves on the road trip, giving him 3 in his career now.
Big Cardinal fan Jeff Burton. Happy birthday. 41 today. Jeff Burton, happy birthday. Navarro, 0-1 pitch. Sharply to third. Up number 1.
Why would be Troy Glaus playing in on
That
the grass
end, yeah.
with Navarro and his running speed? See him playing in like he's going to drop down a bunt. Maybe something Troy obviously knows more about him than we do. That's a catcher and doesn't look real fleet of foot.
Gabe Gross struck out last time up in the 7th. 1 for 4 on the day. Cardinals will have Miles and Pujols and Duncan coming up. The 1-0.
Time's being called for
a fan that's scaling and running the wall. We're not going to put that idiot on TV. We'll just let him get handcuffed and taken out of here.
That makes people do things like that.
What do you think? That's strike two.
Well, eventually they'll realize they made a mistake.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Gross. Bartlett on deck. Mets hold on. They beat the Yankees 7-4. 2-2 pitch. Ooh, just missed on the outside corner. Franklin snaps at the ball as it comes back to him. Hit out of play and foul. Much of this crowd is stuck around. Big crowd today. 43,907.
Ryan Franklin, team leading 22nd appearance, is tied for second in the majors with his 12 holds. He's now the interim closer. ERA at 1.77.
Low, 1-out walk. So the go-ahead run is on.
Last year at this time, he was in the midst of allowing just 3 runs in the first 2 months. He had a 1.27 ERA. And through July the 4th, he was 4-0 with a 1.33 in 54+ innings.
Seen J.P. Howell, and there's another lefty in their bullpen. That's Trevor Miller. He's getting loose.
Former Astro.
Bartlett with 1 out. Go ahead run at first.
Hinsky's on deck.
Franklin working on the first base side of the rubber. He's got a pretty quick move.
Kind of wiry and so quick feet. Very athletic.
Big day for Bartlett. Did commit the error. Threw a ball into right field on a forced play at second, but singled in the second, the fourth, the sixth, and the seventh.
Yeah, that was the pitch count. Now is up to 10 for Franklin. Pretty good size lead by Gross, so he's just holding the ball, trying to take the spring and life out of Gross's legs and make Bartlett, who's 4 for 4. Make him call time.
Trying to bunt. I don't know if I like that. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Bartlett he's number 1 on the team with infield hits.
One pitch. Here it comes. Instead, a check. And Gross is safe. Not by much.
That was a real A move. And nearly got it. Big lead. And got back just ahead of the tag. Should be able to get off a little further then, right?
You would think. And he is a little bigger lead this time. 1-1 pitch. Good curveball.
Looking for the gas. And got the local.
Eight here in the ninth. With a check on Gross. Santana gets the win for the Mets in that game, 7 2/3. Billy Wagner.
Up to now.
Haven't seen it. I have to look it up. Billy Wagner got the save, his ninth. 1-2 pitch. 2-2.
Talk about Joe Madden followed Mike Scioscia when Mike came from the National League as a catcher of the Dodgers. Played sort of a National League style baseball. As you could see when sometime this at bat, a hit and run, a run and hit.
Santana now 5-2 for the Mets.
For a slow start.
Chance for Tampa Bay, if they win, to put themselves a little further ahead of the New York Yankees. Lost that game. Yankees are 5 games out. Last place in the East.
Still within striking distance.
Yep, 3 games below 500. 2-2 pitch on its way. Runner goes, swung on and missed. Double play. Bottom of the ninth coming up. Miles, Pujols, Duncan, and a chance to win it when we come back. Bottom of the ninth, Trevor Miller, the former Astro, the lefty for the Rays. 18 hits for Tampa Bay, 11 for St. Louis. And an 8-8 game. This will be the 20th appearance for Miller.
Time for the squad lead. He pitched also with the Rays back in 04 and 05, the last 2 years with Houston. Very good at holding lefties down.
Miles, Pujols, Duncan due up for the Cardinals.
Did you say last night we never had a ninth inning rally or come from behind? I think at ninth inning we've won some. They were tied. Miles has already had a good day with 3 base hits, a couple runs scored. Upton playing fairly shallow out in center field.
First pitch swung on and missed at 84 miles an hour as Miles turns it over to the right side. Switch hitting second baseman. Oh, 1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pujols on deck, and he is homer today. Albert with number 9 back in the 6th.
3 for 3 off the right-handed starter. He struck out against the lefty Howell.
Shallow center. Who's going to get it? It drops in for a hit.
So we showed earlier that Howell was playing short, the shallow.
How about our Budweiser player of the game? We'll talk defense here with Yadier Molina. And his arm was on display. There's the pickoff of Longoria early on. Watch this tag. Whoop, through the legs. Strike him out, throw him out.
And one on every base. And he's also had an RBI single in this game. Like the second baseman was falling down or diving before that ball was in the vicinity. And we showed right before there that Upton was playing fairly shallow, and
he got a bad jump.
He was very content to let somebody else go for that.
I watched him, and I thought he got a bad jump, and I thought he may have even slipped.
Well, I didn't know whether it was a bad jump or just didn't even make a jump or attempt. So Madden now to talk to his infield and pitchers, but you see where Upton kind of very content to kind of lay back. That's a very difficult play for high sky for the second baseman. Gross, the right fielder, was into your pitcher.
It's a 4-hit day for Miles.
Yeah. It was about 419 coming in interleague play, and he had the 4-for-5 game. He could get some big multi-hit games, can he?
Yes, he can. They come in bunches. Here's Pujols. The first pitch, a strike.
Well, that's surprising, isn't it? 0 for 2 against Trevor Miller.
Very much so. Miles, the winning run over at first base. Outfield deep for Pujols. One ball, one strike. It's Upton in center. He's fairly shallow for Pujols. Pujols rips it, just foul. Missed an extra base hit by about a foot.
Coming right at you. See the umpire and how he plays it. Mike Easterbrook.
1-2 the count. Crowd comes alive here at Busch Stadium. The 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Duncan on deck. The 2-2. On 3-2, let's see if they start the runner here.
Now, if Albert strikes out, it'd have to be on an off-speed pitch. I can't conceive of Miller throwing a fastball by.
The 3-2 pitch, runner goes in a big swing and a foul back.
Not a good jump at all, as Miles has to really make sure the sidewinder, is going to the plate. No need to get picked off.
Time called.
Albert is not walked in this series.
Duncan, who is on deck, is just 1 for 14 against lefties with 4 strikeouts this season. 3-2 pitch. Down the right field line and out of play. Another 3-2 pitch on its way. Pujols, foul. With every pitch in this at bat, crowd gets a little bit louder. Some of the folks on their feet. Time called again.
And I think thinking along with me that this is the key at bat for many, many reasons.
3-2 pitch. Pujols a swing and a miss, and Miles is caught between first and second. They almost threw it away. Still in the rundown and finally tagged out a double play. Give Miller credit. He strikes out Albert Pujols.
Well, that's what I said, that he'd have to do an off-speed pitch, but Miles can't get a good jump because of the way he releases the ball. He has to make sure he and eventually wear him down.
And you're talking about, for so many reasons, this being one of them.
Yeah.
Duncan with his non-success against lefties. Gets underneath it, and this season he is 1 for 15 against left-handed pitching. 8-8 as we head to the 10th. Second inning of work for Ryan Franklin. As we move to the top of the 10th, it's 8-8. Tampa Bay, 18 hits. The Cardinals with 12. Trevor Miller gets the key out. The strikeout of Albert Pujols. And here is Eric Hinsky. Pittsburgh beat Chicago 7-6. That's a final. Mets over the Yankees 7-4. Boston out in front of Milwaukee in the second inning, 1-0. Hinsky with 7 home runs. First pitch by Franklin, a swing and a miss. Here's a ground ball pulled foul. Seen Pujols strike out a little bit more last handful of games. You wonder, Al, if it's frustration over the fact that he doesn't see a lot of good pitches to hit and expands his own.
Well, I think that's it. Or you get in there and you figure last thing they're going to do is walk me and have runners at first and second, and expand that zone and went after a pitch.
1-2 the count.
Last I saw, he's still human.
Hinsky, and then we'll see the top of the order for Tampa Bay. Get into right. Ludwig there.
Well, just bonus baseball, Dan, and you wonder how long we go with Franklin. This is his second inning of work. You would think that may be it, and then you're down to Chris Perez and Valone. You would love, probably more than anything, will avoid Parisi, who pitched 2 innings last night. Still trying to get acclimated to the relief role.
Iwamura lines it foul. Top of the lineup. Get a base hit on the day. 1 for 5. Got awfully quiet here at Busch Stadium. So quiet, in fact, that when Hinsky flew to right,
enough said,
you could hear his frustration. He screamed. One pitch from Ryan Franklin on its way. 2-1.
Long day here.
3.5 hours to get through 9 innings. 2-1 pitch. Back to Franklin. 2 outs. Cardinals will have Gloss, Ludwig, and Molina coming up. Here is Crawford, 3 base hits on the day. One of the outs that he made, his 3 for 5, was a line drive at short. He also popped out to short. Exciting player, Carl Crawford.
Exciting young team. Having a lot of fun as they come together and franchise. They're already setting records. Never been in these uncharted waters this late in the season.
25-17. 8 games above 500.
First time in their history they've ever been 8 games over 500.
2 balls, no strikes.
As I said, some people say this is the worst the Rays are going to be in the next 5 or 6 years. These young players are just going to get better and better. They locked them up, so they're going to be they're going to be together. It's a nice position to be if you're Joe Madden, if they continue to improve and progress.
That's ball 4 straight. Let's see if they want to test Molina again.
Second walk by Franklin.
Tampa Bay 3-0 in extra innings this season. So Crawford, who's always among the league leaders in steals, stands at first. Here's B.J. Upton. Upton on base 4 times today. Crawford not running. The pitch is a strike.
Breaking ball kind of stayed up a little bit. Wouldn't want to do that a little later in the count. These two have faced each other, and Franklin's been the winner. Upton 0 for 3.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Long look at first and time called. Single in the first, double the 5th, and was caught stealing, a single in the 7th, and a walk in the 8th. That's strike 2. Nothing in 2 the count. Check on Crawford again.
Keeps on throwing over. He's already thrown 28 pitches.
Kind of guy that loved to pitch every day.
Well, Dan, you got to think that way as a reliever. And you know you're not going to throw every day, but managers take so much better care of the relief corps than they used to. You would never tell guys you got days off. You would know at times they didn't want to use you, but it wasn't unaccustomed to throw 3 innings one day and 3 innings the next day, and then debate whether you were available the 3rd day.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a strikeout. Coming up, good work by Franklin. Loss, Ludwig, and Molina. There's a look at Dan Wheeler out of the bullpen for the Rays. 8-8, bottom of the 10th. Saw Wheeler with Houston. 20 games for Wheeler this season. It includes today a record of 0-2, 1.23 ERA.
Skip Schumacher fans. Let's let him root for Troy Glaus right now.
Wheeler is one of 5 players to return to the Rays after spending time with another organization.
Originally selected in the 34th pick by the Rays in the '96 draft.
Nicknamed the Wrecking Ball because he was the last pitcher to stand on the mound of Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Busch Stadium 2. Before it was demolished.
Not interesting. We never knew that.
Yeah.
The Wrecking Ball, huh?
Here is Troy Gloss.
How about this would be a pretty appropriate time for Troy's 3rd home run.
4 career walk-off home runs.
Somebody's thinking with me.
Ludwig on deck has one. He had it last year with the Cardinals. Molina with no career walk-off home runs. The 0-1 pitch. 0-2.
Well, they're a big guy, so he gives a lot of that motion, and then when he pulls the string, it's hard to lay back.
6'3", 225 pounds. 1 for 6 is Gloss against Wheeler. Wheeler came over in the Ty Wigginton deal. And against the Cardinals in his career, he is 1-2, couple of saves. No stranger to the Cardinals. He's pitched 28 2/3 innings against St. Louis. The Cardinals have hit .274 against him. 1-2 pitch. Called 3rd strike on the outside corner.
Troy's going, I know it's been a long day, but that's not a strike.
He's looking at the roster for the Rays. John Rodriguez.
Yes.
J-Rod.
J-Rod was in spring training with him.
Mike DeFelice. Another former Cardinal. Last June against Kansas City. Calls that his most memorable baseball moment so far. Walk-off home run for Ludwig. In the air, left center field. Will it carry out of here? It is gone! Home run, and the Cardinals win it!
Upton might have hurt his wrist trying to go for the home run.
Ludwig wins it with a walk-off home run. 9-8 the final. Ludwig, his 2nd home run of the day.
B.J. Upton hurt his shoulder as he tried to jump up there and bring that ball back in. That could be a big blow to the Rays, bigger than the blow that Ludwig just hit.
Well, coming up, we'll talk about it on the post-game show. The walk-off, just enough. And the Cardinals win it 9-8 in extra innings.